Hi grade 10s, this is Miss Thungaraj here, and this is the second video for assignment number 3. And today we'll be looking at page 2 of the booklet. Remember, our topic is called Solving Systems of Equations, and we learned yesterday that that just means finding when two lines touch each other, when their intersection point is. So today, the first example we're going to look at is this example here. It's the example at the top of page 2. We have two equations, and we want to graph both of those lines, and we want to see when they touch. The first equation is 2x plus y is equal to 7, and the second equation is x minus 2y is equal to 6. Now, I totally realize that you do not have graph paper at home, most likely. That's fine. I actually don't have graph paper at home either. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our best with the resources we have at home, and we're going to estimate where the intersection point is together. Let's look at that first equation right now. What you might notice when you look at equation number 1, 2x plus y is equal to 7, is that it's not in the format that we're used to. We're used to having the y all by itself, and then on the other side having mx plus b, where m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. So what we want to do in order to graph this is we want to change the equation 2x plus y is equal to 7 into something that's just y equals. Let's do that now. So here's my equation. What I want is I want to keep the y by itself on this side. I want to move this plus 2x to the other side. So it's going to be y is equal to 7 minus 2x, or y is equal to minus 2x plus 7, which means the y-intercept, the initial value is 7, and the slope, or the jumping number, is minus 2. So if I were to make a table of values for this, I always start at 0, 1, 2, 3, my x's, my y's. We know it starts at 7 and then it jumps down 2 each time. So it would be 5, 3, 1. If I kept going, it would be negative numbers. Okay, so we can easily graph that one now. Let's look at equation number 2. So equation number 2 is x minus 2y is equal to 6. And you could try to use the same method that we just used for equation 1, but you would see that it would be quite difficult to get y by itself. So what we're going to do is we are going to use the intercepts to graph this equation. I did a video on this right at the beginning of our Learn at Home period for video assignment number 1, but I'll teach it to you again. So let's remember something about intercepts. The y-intercept is just where the graph touches, or the line touches the y-axis, and the x-intercept is just where the graph touches the x-axis. So let's look at that first example we just did moments ago. We made the table, I've made the graph now, and we see that at the y-intercept, when we have the y-intercept, my x is equal to 0. And if you were to notice, down here, where you have the x-intercept, the y value would be 0. So what we want to do is we want to use this method where you know that for y-intercepts, x equals to 0, and you know that for x-intercepts, y equals to 0 to graph the next equation. So let's go back to that equation. I believe our equation was y minus, 2y. X minus 2y is equal to 6. Okay, so if you want to find the y-intercept, remember when you want to find the y-intercept, the x has to be equal to 0. So let's write our equation down. X minus 2y is equal to 6. Let's cross off this x and let's put a 0 here. 0 minus 2y is just the same thing as minus 2y is equal to 6. If I want to find the y-intercept, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. So y is going to be equal to negative 3. That's my y-intercept. Now let's find my x-intercept. To find my x-intercept, to find out where it touches over here, that's happening when y is equal to 0. So we're going to write our equation down. X minus 2y is equal to 6. We're going to cross off this y and put a 0 there. That means I have x minus 2 times 0 is equal to 6. That part right there is just 0. So it means x is equal to 6. Okay, so now I know the y-intercept and the x-intercept of that other graph, the second line. I know that my y-intercept, it's touching at right here at negative 3. And I know that my x-intercept is at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to take my ruler, actually my piece of plastic. I'm going to connect the two intercepts. And I'm going to put my cell phone down for just a moment, draw the line, and then I'll return. Okay, so what I've done is we found the y-intercept, we found the x-intercept. I put the y-intercept here, the x-intercept here, I connected them, and look at the two lines, the place they intersect is at this point right here at 4, negative 1. That means the solution to the system of equations is 4, negative 1. And remember from yesterday, that means that if I put the 4 here and the negative 1 here and I did the math, I would get 6. And if I were to put the 4 here and the negative 1 here and do the math, I would get 7. Let's look at another example. We'll do one more together and then I'll leave you one to do on your own. So this is the red box at the bottom of the page 2. We're going to do the first question together in this video, and then you on your own can try the second question. And if you want me to check it, send me an email with a picture of your work and I will check it for you. Let's look at the first question together now. Okay, let's look at this example together. Now, let's look for the one that's easiest to do the first way, to get y by itself. If I look at this equation right here, we can see that it's really easy to get y by itself. I just need to move the x to the other side. So I'm going to have y is equal to 5 minus x. Notice there would be a 1 here. So that means that I would be starting at 5. My y-intercept, this is my y-intercept, would be 5. And then I would be going down 1 each time. So I'm going to go down 1. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1. Okay, that's easy. We made the table for the first one. Let's look at the second equation. Actually, not the second equation, it's the first one. We have x minus 3y is equal to 3. That one is harder to do using our first method. So what we want to do is we want to use the intercept method. We want to find the y-intercept and find the x-intercept. Don't forget that the y-intercept, when you have a y-intercept, the x is equal to 0. And when you have an x-intercept, then over here the y is equal to 0. Okay, let's first find the y-intercept. And we know that when we're looking for a y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So in the equation, I write the equation down. And this right here becomes 0. So I have 0 minus 3y is equal to minus 3, which is basically minus 3y is equal to minus 3. I'm going to divide by minus 3 to both sides. My y is equal to 1. This is my y-intercept. Now I want to find my x-intercept. To find my x-intercept, don't forget, anytime you find your x-intercept, the number next to it in the table would be 0. So we want y to be equal to 0. So x minus 3y is equal to minus 3. I'm going to make this right here equal to 0. So x minus 3 times 0 is equal to minus 3. But 3 times 0 is just 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So I have x is equal to minus 3. Now I have both graphs ready to go. Let's do it now. And again, don't feel bad if you don't have graph paper. Use the resources you have at home. Okay, so let's graph the first equation we looked at. Let's graph y is equal to 5 minus x. So we know it starts at 5. The y-intercept's 5. At 1, it's 4. At 2, it's 3. At 3, it is 2. At 4, it is 1. At 5, it is 0. And we can make a line. I'm going to do that right now. And now let's graph the second line. The second line that says the y-intercept is at 1 and the x-intercept is at -3. So my y-intercept is at 1. My x-intercept is at -3. I'm going to take my ruler out, connect those, and we'll see where the two lines are. So I've used my piece of plastic as my ruler, and it looks like the two lines touch at 3, 2. What I'm going to do now, and what I would suggest you do at home as well, is just check on Desmos to make sure that my graph that I made without graph paper is accurate. So I've just checked with Desmos, and I can see that the work we did together is correct. The intersection point, or the solution to the system of equations, is 3, 2. What I would like you to do now is try the second question in that red box, and that's all your work that you need to be responsible for today. Have a great day, and if you have questions, send them my way.